What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. I'm Jason Balin from Hard Money Bankers, and this is Ian Horowitz from Equity Warehouse. Welcome. As always, Ian, we're the #1 real estate investing podcast in the whole country and the whole world. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Today, we have actually a special edition episode. Today's Saturday, August 6th. And typically, we don't podcast on Saturdays, but Ian just came back from a mastermind, the Legacy Apartment Mastermind. And we were chatting yesterday, and we felt there was, some pressing information that the two of us have been discussing over the last week since Ian was at that mastermind and since he came back to the mastermind. And you know what? We're like, instead of us chatting about it offline, let's hop on camera. Let's do a special edition Real Estate Reserve podcast and talk about it. So, Ian, tell us a little bit about this mastermind that you were at this week.
Yeah, I headed out to Cleveland. I went to, I saw them, the event come up in my email. Someone else said, "Hey man, you want to go?" And I was teetering back and forth whether I wanted to go. And I said, "You know what? Let's jump in the car, take a ride out." We wound up parlaying it into some site visits not far away. And we went out to the mastermind. It was hosted by Tim Brott's guys over at Legacy. And it was a really good mastermind. It was one, especially when I don't know anyone in the room besides one other person. So that's always good. And it was, it was well put together, and it was a great time to, have a discussion on some things that are going on inside of our business. Hear what other people are seeing in this marketplace right now, especially the marketplace being, I don't want to say upside down, but a little different than what we've all been used to for the past few months. So it's always good to get into the room for those types of things as well.
Sure. What was one big takeaway that you have? I know we have a few takeaways that we're going to talk about today. What was your biggest takeaway from that event?
Yeah, so I would say my number one takeaway was just expanding the network. I hate the cliche saying of your network is your net worth, but honestly, this is how you grind out a network. This is how you start piercing other circles. This is how you get out there and talk with other people and find out what the future of real estate may be, of real estate investing in the near future. Going out there and you just meeting new people and having that network is really, really powerful. And I thought it was really good to go out there and hear from other operators what they're doing. And, it was all asset classes. It was 20 people in a room. It was all asset classes. It was all experience levels. And that's where building a network becomes exponentially important.
Well, and I was going to say that the focus for at least the organizer of that event is multifamily apartment investing, right?
Correct.
But even so, just by learning from other people, like-minded people, even if their asset classes even if they're not investing in the same asset classes as you are, there's still a ton of benefit because there's so much overlap, right? There's finding deals, there's capital raising, there's operations, finance, everything.
I have a little internet troubles because we're home and I'm freezing up. But yeah, having different asset classes there and different experience levels, a unique view, right? Like, being in storage mostly with some multifamily and experience in other asset classes, and then hearing other people that are strictly in multifamily, guys that are strictly brokers, e-com guys were there, and other storage investors that are in the Pacific Northwest, right? Like, that's a completely different world than what I'm used to. Their rental rates are way different than what we're dealing with. It was just it's really interesting to hear what everyone's got going on. And again, by having that network, and then when you come across a deal or an opportunity, you're instead of being so concentrated on the box that you're in, it actually allows you to get outside your comfort level, right? When you find a deal that you're like, man, this is like a car wash with some storage, and I think there's opportunity to develop a mobile home park all on the site, you can bring in other JV sponsors. You have a network of people to start talking with and expanding ideas and looking at deals that are not as in tune with what you're used to dealing with, so that I think that's the importance of the network to me, 100%.
Yeah, and the thing, the interesting thing is you don't know what you don't know, right? We all live in a bubble or somewhat of a bubble, and we try to get out of that bubble when we can, and we run our general operations on a day-to-day basis, and you know what you know, and you forget there's a whole outside world that are doing some, a lot of times bigger and better things than we all are doing. And when you get exposed to that, it goes a long way. And I know, we have a mastermind group, you have your own mastermind group as well. And, it's a way to bring like-minded folks together. And in so many of those mastermind groups, yes, they're geared towards a certain potentially asset class, but there's so many different opportunities that come out of it just because, hey, just because I'm a private lender doesn't mean that I don't invest in storage units or apartment buildings or single family houses. Just because somebody's fixing and flipping houses doesn't mean that, they don't own apartment buildings. Like all of them overlap. For everybody who's listening or watching in real time, what are you currently investing in? What are asset classes that you currently are investing in, and what's one big reason why you're investing in them? And I know so many folks, including the two of us talking, that we're a part of a lot of different asset classes, mostly through real estate, as well as some private businesses, but mostly kind of real estate, because there's pros and cons of all of them, right? You got potentially depreciation on some of them. You got high cash flow on some of them. You got long-term appreciation on some of them. Well, so I heard you met somebody else out there that provided a lot of value to the room. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, speaking of businesses and diversifying um, from, uh, from what real estate is, or getting started in real estate and expanding your mind. I actually had the pleasure of meeting, Mark Evans, Mark Evans DM, the deal maker. And he came in, actually he hung out for 2 days, of the 2 of the 3 days hanging out. Obviously you see people on Instagram and YouTube and you're like, oh, well, I don't know how to feel this guy. I've consumed his content. I've consumed his, some of his podcast content. I know some other people in his mastermind. I'm like, all right, I kind of got an idea of who or what he may be. And then, listening to talk, and, he by far was the wealthiest guy in the room. And to hear him talk and talk about the things and just being a normal human being coming back to reality, right? Like in the end, like, a lot of people get like fanboy status sometimes, and I'm not saying I was, but in general, like when they see a sports star, in the end, you got to remember everyone's a human. We all eat the same things. We all go to the bathroom the same way, right? Like we all feel the same way, whether we get hurt or we're happy or whatever it is. So to have him in the room and giving his experience, also to see a Rolls Royce up close and in person was pretty cool. But either way, having someone there with that experience level and the multitude of businesses that he's running, all of them 7-8 figure businesses that he's running, is really interesting to see. And also to see how he's structuring it. I personally like listening to podcasts where people aren't necessarily always into real estate and they interview people with other businesses, right? Like you get to hear their process, and it's like, okay, well, how do I take the process that
We might have lost you, Ian, with your frozen internet. We'll give it a sec as his internet shakes back out. I actually was emailing myself a picture of something that I want to talk about towards the end of this episode. Let's see if Ian shakes back out here, and if he doesn't, we'll do this a little bit earlier than I was expecting. But I think it puts a lot of what we're talking about now and a lot of investing in general into perspective. Give me a second here. And since he is not, since he's still frozen, let me just put this picture on camera real quick. Give me one sec. I think you guys are gonna like this. Let's see. Share slides. Your computer. Upload. Give me one sec, guys. Give me one sec. Actually, Ian's back, so we'll add him again real quick. All right, Ian, add yourself real quick. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on, but this is the trials and tribulations of running a cast from home. I'm going to have to go stop streaming video real quick while they're upstairs cleaning their rooms. But anyway, yeah, it's good to hear other people how they're, I don't know where I got cut off, but they're running businesses and how they're applying their techniques, running a business, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, and he's only dealing at the super top. And my takeaway was structure. But another takeaway I thought that was interesting, here's a guy who flies private, has a Rolls Royce, split time between Florida and Ohio. The question that I asked, and that really was eye opening, and we really had a good experience, and brought Mark down to earth. And it's like, man, he's just like the rest of us. I said, hey man, how do you handle having huge amounts of success and bringing your kids up in that? Because we kind of have similar backgrounds. Come from similar type backgrounds, a little bit rougher. A lot of our success comes from the fight, right? And just having the conversation of teaching your kids the right thing, keeping them involved, showing them what's right and what's wrong. That was like, I don't know if it was just eye opening to say, okay, man, everybody has the same, and we all raise kids, right? It doesn't matter how much money you make or don't make, or what your status is, or what how much business you have. We all have the same problems. And I thought that was a really good conversation. And I really enjoyed it. And we should be having Mark on here hopefully later in August, if not sometime in September. And we can talk and go deeper into that exact topic, because he really got super passionate about it. Because you know what? One of his main core values that came up a lot was his family time. And that's why he sets his businesses to do what we need to do. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, and it's going to kind of roll me into our third point, is us as entrepreneurs, we step in and we do the really hard work from $0 to $1 million or $0 to $5 million, whatever it is. And then lose sight, right? You can continue to grow. They say you got 3 things: your family, your health, and your success. And usually one of the 3 suffer. And how do you balance all 3, right? And that was again, another point that kind of I went home with. And to roll right to the third point, unless you got something on that, but I'm kind of on a tangent here, is the third point was, and I think this was the biggest takeaway for me. The host has has a $300 million portfolio of real estate, has a super successful coaching business. To hear him talk about, or actually this other guy that came in, AC Evans, has a $250 million, maybe bigger tech company. And to hear him talk about, it's like, dude, everything you do from 0 to $1 million, and then $1 million to 5, and 5 to 10, and 10 to 20, different in every stage, right? And that kind of relates back to the family thing. It's like, what you did from 0 to 5 million, you might have been busting your butt. I can't shut that. You might have been busting your butt. And then from 10 to 20, your goals and your priorities kind of change a little bit, right? They go from not doing the day-to-day so much, and you're more on the HR and the hiring and the capital raising or whatever it is, right? Your tasks inside your business change as your business continues to grow. And then I thought also an interesting point that he brought up was that, at some point your business might outgrow you. And that's really a telltale sign that you need to hire someone and bring them in to help run parts of your business, because in the end, that piece of that business has outgrown you, and you need the person who does that the most and can focus on that one task as you continue to grow the business. So hopefully that made sense. I know it kind of went sideways there, but it was a super powerful point.
Oops, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I like that. I mean, we've chatted a good bit about stuff in this mastermind and other mastermind. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about that Grant Cardone video that you DM'd me and Chris, my business partner Chris. I guess that was yesterday, and we'll talk about kind of the relevance to it, because it's probably one of my favorite things in the world. But about 10 years ago, I printed out this banner, a picture, and I actually put it on my wall in my office. Has been there ever since, and I just screenshotted a picture of it on my phone, and we're going to upload here in a second so you can see what it looks like. But I think so many real estate investors forget that they're investors. The word investor is a strong investor. They'll use terms like CEO or operator, and that's fine. All those terms are fine, but really the investment side is the most important part. So let me just bring this up real quick. So if you're watching this live and you're not listening to this, if you're not watching this live, just Google like Warren Buffett, Coca-Cola meme. So on the left, you have an employee, employee mindset versus investor mindset. An employee could also be an owner of a company, right? Sure. So many of us as real estate investors start a business, and 5 years later, they look back and it's like, I'm pretty much just an employee of this business that I own. And I'm only making, the same amount of money I was making if I was just working for somebody else down the street. I remember telling a buddy of mine who, he was under the impression that he created a pretty successful home improvement company. But when he looked back, it was like, dude, you could be making the same amount of money working for the home improvement company down the street and go home every night at 5:00, not have to work weekends, and you don't have any risk. You have no liability like you do as a business owner because you haven't set this up as a business. So anyways, if you're looking at this on the left side, it's employee or business owner. The CEO of Coke earns $1 million a year in salary. Now, this was an old meme. This is the one that I've had up. He makes, I don't know, probably $15 million or $50 million a year as a salary from Coca-Cola right now. And then it says work for your money. On the other side, you have Warren Buffett, who's an investor. He earns $1.5 million per day from Coke stock dividends, and his money works for him, and he has zero involvement in the brand. So when we're investors in real estate, we have to wear two hats. You wear your operating and your business owner and your employee and your execution hat, but you also got to wear your investor hat. And I think that's so important that so many people don't realize. Most people don't think of themselves as investors. And if you're not thinking of yourself as an investor, like they might use the term investor because I'm a real estate investor, but I mean, because I'm investing in real estate, but I mean like an investor. Like, is your money working for you? And are you not just putting in time every day to work for your money? And Grant Cardone dissected this in a video reel that Ian, myself, and my business partner, Chris, were sharing yesterday. And I was like, dude, it's the best. Like, if you can understand this point and this mindset, you'll realize it. You realize of like, hey, I got to take money out of my business on a regular basis so I can reinvest it into something that's going to grow passively so I don't have to work for my money. Yeah, we're all working for money over on one side, and that's okay. You work for your money on one side, and then you have money working for you on the other side. And that's really how to become successful.
Yeah, and that actually, and I'm trying to find it real quick, see if I can't get it up on the screen here. And I thought Grant did a really good job of talking about it, but it's like, dude, like, you can go and get your ass kicked every day, or want to be like Warren Buffett and go earn the capital. And that kind of like relates to my takeaway of like from 0 to 5 million, like you don't have a choice, dude, or 0 to whatever till you quit your job. You don't have a choice, dude. You got to go out and go eat crow, dude. Like you got to go bust your ass. You got to get out there and grind it out, right? Like, and that's what we talked about at the Mastermind. But then from like that next range on up, as you start to build a company, and you might even have employees from that 0 to 5 or 10 or 20 million. It could be, pick an ancillary number, doesn't matter. In the end, at some point, you need to view yourself as the investor in your company, right? And by viewing yourself as the investor in the company, it also I think it also frames up the fact that you're going to do better deals. One of the exercises we were doing inside the Mastermind, someone was looking at a deal and he's like, I'm putting my $1 million in. I'm going to get back, I think it was like 4 or 5% or 8% return. And I was like, dude, you're doing all the work to get 8%. Just give us the money and we'll give you 8%. You don't have to have any risk. The only risk you got is whether I'm going to do my job or not, right? Like, and he's like, oh crap. I'm like, yeah, dude, you got to allocate your capital like you're an investor. And I think I actually have the same meme hanging up in my office. I might move it to closer to my desk so I look at it more, because it is, hey man, as you grow your business, are you building yourself? Like we all have cliche, oh, e-myth this and blah, 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 that. Let's work on our business, not in our business. But we all work on our business, in our business every day. And you feel like you're working on your business. And like as you're going through that transition, it's weird, it's never like clear cut levels. It's never like, I did this, check. I did that, check. And it just like magically changes as you're going through these bumps and bruises. It starts to become more relevant. And by going to a Mastermind, by talking about what you got going on, it starts to come more, to the forefront of, hey, this is what I got going on inside my real estate business. This is how I can actually build my real estate business rather than just being stuck in the grind.
Here's the other one that I think we were talking about, and it's for the most part the same thing, but it's, it says, James Quincy, CEO of Coca-Cola, $17 million a year salary. He pays 45% in taxes, so he's taking home $9 million every year, and he works 62 and a half hours a week. On the other side, you got Warren Buffett. He is an investor in Coca-Cola. There's a little quote, gulp, eat my dust, gulp, drinking a Coca-Cola, and his dividends are making him $16 million a year. He only pays 20% taxes on that, and he's
right.
And he's pocketing just significantly more, and he's only working, a little bit a week, if any. And that's interesting because the guy working his butt off all the time is losing 50% in taxes. The person who's investing passively and not making, making all the money, and not even doing anything to make the money besides, using it as an investment vehicle, is paying only 20% taxes. So if you can wrap your brain around this, like this makes sense. Like when I saw this early on, and I saw this early on in real time in our lending business, because for the first few years in our lending business, my capital investors were making more money than I was and my business partner just for deploying capital through us. They were making more money than us for years. I would look at their 1099s and I was like, Jesus, your 1099s are higher than my K1s. And you don't even know what deals you're involved in or what deals you're even investing in. You just put up a few $1 million, and you're getting, rate of return on it. So again, something to think about, something to understand. I think as always feels like as an investor, if you can wrap your brain around a few things, the investing side, compound interest, things like that, it goes a long way. So, I'm glad that you guys discussed this in your mastermind as well. I know you have.
And one of the exercises we did was an org chart, right? And doing that, man, that was eye-opening, bro. That was wild when you start building out an org chart of like what you are today and what you want, what you actually want to be, right? Like that was pretty powerful. That was pretty powerful for us to take a pause and actually do that,
Well, and everybody needs an organization chart. Even if you're a one-man shop, one-woman shop, you have to have an organizational chart because you're wearing multiple caps, right? You build out the biggest organizational chart that you can based on where your end game is, right? So it's like, I'll be a CEO, then we'll have a CFO, then we'll have whatever, a property inspector, then we'll have a maintenance person, then we'll have a capital raiser. Whatever it is, right? We'll have a bookkeeper. We'll have whatever it is, right? You build that out and you assign names to every one of those parties. If that name is your name on every one, that's okay. That's how it always is at the beginning. And then as you hire people, you kind of work through that, and you replace yourself with somebody else. So I'm assuming what you just shared on this was the link to the Grant Cardone video.
Correct.
We could potentially. Can we play that?
I got it here. I can share the screen. Hold on one second. Problem is I don't know how to restart it.
Yeah. If you need help, just send me the link and I'll do it. This is the Grant Cardone video describing what we just tried to describe. All right, want me to add it to the stream?
Yeah. Should the volume working?
Come on. Last year. That's passive income. As a dividend? Yes. You know how many people on the internet want to be the boss? A lot. Dude, the boss don't make any money. The investor does. Don't be the boss. Don't be CEO. Be the investor. Just invest. And what does Warren do? Warren is how I got in real estate. I started buying real estate because I studied the old man. The old man's only invested in stocks, right? I'm like, I'm not going to do stocks because I don't like them. But what I wanted to learn from Warren Buffett, what was he doing? He did not buy the cheapest company. He didn't buy low and high. What was he doing? He bought fair value at a fair price. He bought the best quality at a fair price. He wasn't looking for the day a stock went down to one. He's never done that. He invested in companies that all cash flow, leaders in their space, Coca-Cola, Apple Computer. He didn't buy Apple Computer for years until he understood that Apple Computer was a cash flow company because of iTunes. Everything he buys is really real estate. So this.
Yeah. So there was a little choppy from the audio, but you get the point. It's the owner of the company, the hardworking person. There's only so much money you can make as the hardworking person. You got to be the investor in that as well. You got to be both. So we're on the topic of Mastermind, so let's just talk about it real quick, and then we'll leave everybody be since it's Saturday afternoon. If you're watching this in real time, if you're not watching this in real time, it could be any time of the day that you're watching this, which is. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Hopefully someone's out doing a workout, and it's motivating.
So you did a mastermind group recently, and you're doing another one locally come November. Just tell everybody real quick about that mastermind because it was a hit last time.
Yeah, we did one back in May, and leading into it, I was a little worried about doing it, and it wound up being a great time. I don't want to say I've been hemming and hawing about hosting another one, but after going to this event, and literally when I tell you it was almost identical, it was 20 people in the room. We went to dinner. We went to a baseball game, literally the same thing that we did. I was like, man, you know what? I got to tell you, and to see all the value that everybody else not only got from the room that I was in, but going to this one and seeing all the value that everybody else got, it motivated me to come back. And I know I've been you, Jay, about building out the coaching group and building out the mastermind. Well, I'm not going to get credit and say that I'm going to do the coaching group. I am, however, going to continue on with the mastermind group. We'll put info out. It's going to be in November in Baltimore. The people that came first event are obviously going to get first look at the seats. But should it open up, we'll keep everyone posted. But I think everybody should host some sort of group, because it's the peer of who you have around. Like it's a sphere of your influence, right? Everybody out of the room, I had a connection to, and that made for a better conversation almost immediately, right? So by doing those things, it was a good time, and it motivates me to do it again and bring everyone back to baller and figure out something to do. But more importantly, having the people in the room, having the right conversations, especially going into the end of the quarter, the end of the year, and setting goals for 2023. I think that'll be good to do that mastermind. And I do know that I'm attending one other mastermind event in November, hopefully as a guest speaker. But again, just getting in and that's a totally different asset class. And I'm going out there to speak at that one. And just knowing that I got to do that and having my event and going to that event and all these other things, it's super motivating stuff done and providing value to everybody in any way, shape, or form. So we'll keep you posted on that event, and we'll keep you posted should any of these other things materials. Put in the comments if you're looking for coaching. You'll learn how to invest in real estate. Reach out to us. There are some opportunities that we know some other coaches, but as we hear more feedback, if people are interested in it, you will continue to grow potentially a small coaching platform. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. You're muted. Mute.
Of course. Thanks for sharing your Saturday with us, everybody. We appreciate it. We just wanted to get that out because it was a little bit time sensitive, related to some key takeaways while it was fresh in our mind. We've got some new podcasts coming soon with some good guests. We'll also be in studio here shortly. If you have any guests that you think you would benefit from hearing on our podcast, feel free to reach out to either one of us, Jason at hardmoneybankers.com, Ian at equitywarehouse.com. If you like this content or any other shows that we've done in the past, super appreciate if you can, follow us on the platforms. Definitely give us a 5 stars on Apple, iTunes. We really appreciate that. Definitely share it with a friend. If you think someone can get value from this. And again, we're always looking for topics and guests to hop on with us. We like to podcast as often as possible. So if you know any guests, if you think you can provide value to our audience, feel free to reach out to us as well. And we'll see you guys next week. We appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.